Welcome back to Aurum Visio Sound, Light, Awareness, a space for what you find within. Today's journey, the power of saying no, boundaries for inner peace. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Saying no is an act of courage. In a world where people-pleasers get praised, saying no takes guts. We live in a culture that often applauds those who put others before themselves, those who sacrifice their needs and desires for the comfort and approval of others. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that our value lies in our ability to be everything to everyone, to constantly say yes. But this chapter serves as a gentle reminder that true strength comes from recognizing when to say no. Each time you choose to decline an extra project or politely refuse an invitation that doesn't resonate with your soul, you're sending a silent message to the world, and most importantly, to yourself. You're declaring that your time, energy, and focus are precious commodities that deserve to be cherished and guarded carefully. It's a declaration of self-respect and a testament to the fact that you recognize your own worth. By mastering the art of saying no, you're not just protecting your schedule, you're safeguarding your sanity, your happiness, and your personal growth. So take a moment to acknowledge the quiet bravery it takes to turn down requests when they don't align with your priorities and values. In doing so, you're building not just a life of balance, but a life of integrity, authenticity, and inner peace. Chapter 2. Boundaries are not walls. They're bridges to self-awareness, protection, and self-love. Walls keep people out, but boundaries invite us to look within, to listen to our needs, and to stand up for ourselves. With each boundary we set, we pave the way for deeper connections, more meaningful interactions, and a stronger sense of identity. Boundaries are like bridges that connect us to our true selves. They allow us to explore our emotions, needs, and limits without fear of judgment or ridicule. When we understand and respect our own boundaries, we become better equipped to communicate them to others. And when others respect our boundaries, it lays the foundation for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Protection is another vital aspect of boundaries. By establishing and upholding boundaries, we safeguard our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. They serve as shields against disrespect, manipulation, and those who might try to exploit our generosity or kindness. Self-love is perhaps the most important aspect of boundaries. When we respect and enforce our boundaries, we demonstrate self-love and acceptance. We are communicating to ourselves that we are worthy of care, consideration, and healthy relationships. We are not only giving ourselves permission to prioritize our own needs, but we are also showing ourselves that we truly value and cherish our own company. Setting boundaries is an act of self-compassion and self-respect, and is essential to cultivating a deep sense of self-love and acceptance. Overall, boundaries are not barriers to connection or growth. They are stepping stones towards deeper self-awareness, healthier relationships, and a life filled with authenticity and peace. Chapter 3. Why is it so hard to say no? Guilt. We've been conditioned to feel guilty when we prioritize our needs over others, like we're selfish or unkind. Fear of rejection. Saying no might mean missing out on opportunities or being seen as less valuable, which terrifies us. Fear of disappointing others. We worry that letting people down will hurt them or damage our relationships. Desire for approval and acceptance. We crave other people's approval, so we often agree to things to gain their acceptance and validation. But why do we find it so challenging to say no, despite knowing its importance? The answer lies in a complex web of societal conditioning, emotional baggage, and deeply ingrained habits. One of the primary reasons is guilt. We've been raised in a culture that often portrays putting others first as the epitome of kindness and selflessness. As a result, we internalize the idea that looking after our own needs is somehow selfish or wrong. This guilt can be so powerful that it paralyzes us, making it difficult to assert ourselves and prioritize our own well-being. Another significant factor is the fear of rejection or abandonment. Saying no might lead to losing out on opportunities or being perceived as less valuable, which can be terrifying. This fear often stems from a lack of self-worth and a desperate need for acceptance and validation from others. Finally, there's the fear of disappointing others or causing them inconvenience. We naturally want to be liked and respected, and we worry that saying no will lead to conflict or strained relationships. Now, this fear can be particularly intense if you have a strong need to be seen as reliable or indispensable. But while these fears and societal pressures are understandable, it's crucial to recognize that prioritizing our own needs is not selfish or unkind. It's an act of self-preservation and compassion. Just as we wouldn't hesitate to help someone we love, we must also extend that same care and consideration to ourselves. Learning to say no is not about becoming defensive or unapproachable. It's about creating space for our own growth, well-being, and authenticity. It's about recognizing that we deserve love, respect, and acceptance, not because we say yes to everyone, but because we are worthy of it regardless. Chapter 4. Every time you say yes to what drains you, you say no to your own well-being. That's not kindness. That's self-abandonment. When we continuously choose to prioritize the needs and desires of others above our own, we inadvertently communicate that our own well-being is secondary, even less important than theirs. This perspective can be particularly harmful if it becomes a consistent pattern in our relationships, or if it's reinforced by our upbringing or societal expectations. For instance, if we grow up in a household where our needs were consistently put aside for our parents' convenience or someone else's benefit, we might internalize this dynamic, leading us to believe that self-neglect is normal or even expected. This can manifest in various ways, from overcommitting ourselves to people-pleasing behaviors, to sacrificing our own health and happiness for the sake of others. But this is not an act of kindness, it's self-abandonment. By consistently undervaluing our own needs and well-being, we are essentially abandoning ourselves. We are sending our minds and bodies a message that we are not worthy of care, attention, or prioritization. This can lead to feelings of resentment, burnout, and a diminished sense of self-worth. Moreover, when we abandon our own needs, we also rob ourselves of the opportunity to pursue our passions, dreams, and goals. Prioritizing others may seem selfless, but it comes at a cost. Instead of working on our own projects or investing in our personal growth, we find ourselves stuck in a cycle of endless obligations and compromised dreams. Ultimately, this continuous self-neglect can take a toll on our mental, physical, and emotional health. It can contribute to anxiety, depression, stress, and a general sense of dissatisfaction with life. Chapter 5. No is a complete sentence. You don't need to justify your peace. When we say no, we are declining an offer, refusing an invitation, setting a limit, or drawing a boundary. It's a straightforward, concise response that leaves no room for negotiation or explanation. The power of no lies in its simplicity and finality. It's a single word that carries with it the weight of our autonomy, our right to make choices that align with our values, needs, and priorities. However, in many situations, especially when dealing with individuals who may not fully respect our boundaries, we often feel compelled to elaborate, to justify, or to soften our no. We might apologize profusely, offer lengthy explanations, or try to minimize any inconvenience our refusal might cause. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your choices, especially when it comes to matters of personal boundaries and well-being. When we feel the need to justify our no, it often stems from a place of insecurity or a fear of confrontation. We worry about potential backlash, about damaging relationships, or about being seen as uncooperative or rude. This fear is understandable. In a society that often values agreeableness and harmony, asserting ourselves can be intimidating. It requires a level of self-confidence and emotional resilience that many of us have not been encouraged to develop. But here's the liberating truth. Your peace is not negotiable. Your boundaries are not up for debate. When you say no, you are not obligated to provide reasons or make excuses. Your peace is your peace, and it deserves to be honored as such. Chapter 6. Boundaries teach others how to treat you. But more importantly, they teach you how to honor yourself. We often think of boundaries as a means to control how others treat us. We imagine them as walls that keep people out, or as rules that dictate how others should interact with us. While it's true that boundaries do shape how others interact with us, their function extends far beyond that. More importantly, boundaries are a reflection of how we choose to treat ourselves. When we establish and maintain boundaries, we are affirming our own worth, our needs, and our rights. We are communicating to ourselves that we deserve respect, care, and consideration. This newfound self-respect becomes a guiding light in all our interactions, shaping how we view ourselves and how we allow others to view and treat us. It's a continuous process of self-discovery and empowerment. Every time we set a boundary, we are reaffirming our commitment to ourselves. We're saying, I am worthy of respect, I am deserving of care, and I will not settle for anything less. And as we continue to practice this self-honoring, it becomes a natural extension of who we are. It seeps into every aspect of our lives, influencing how we conduct ourselves in professional settings, in relationships, and in our interactions with strangers. Boundaries are not just about keeping others in check. They are about keeping ourselves in check, ensuring that our actions, words, and emotions are in line with our values and aspirations. They provide a framework for living a life that is authentic, fulfilling, and true to who we are. Chapter 7. The discomfort of saying no is temporary. The peace that follows is lasting. The process of saying no can initially feel uncomfortable. It might involve a brief moment of tension, awkwardness, or even resistance. It's like pushing against a heavy fog, a feeling of uncertainty or hesitation. This unease often stems from our deeply ingrained habits of compliance and people-pleasing. Years of conditioning that has taught us to prioritize others' needs and desires above our own. But this momentary discomfort is only a prelude to a much greater feeling, the profound sense of relief and lasting peace that follows. Imagine a heavy cloak being lifted, shedding the burden of obligations and expectations that no longer serve us. This feeling of peace is not a fleeting moment of calm. It's a deep-rooted tranquility that permeates every aspect of our lives. It allows us to approach our tasks and relationships with renewed energy and focus, free from the distractions and resentments that come from sacrificing our own needs and values. Ultimately, the key lies in embracing this discomfort as a catalyst for positive change, recognizing that the transient unease of saying no is more than compensated by the enduring peace that follows. It's about understanding that true freedom and authenticity lie on the other side of this discomfort, and it's a freedom worth striving for. Chapter 8. You can say no with love. Firm doesn't mean harsh. Clear doesn't mean cold. When we say no, it's important to communicate it with kindness, firmness, and clarity. While it's perfectly acceptable to keep things brief, offering a short and sweet no when it's appropriate can convey your message effectively without unnecessary elaboration. On the other hand, there are situations where providing a bit more context and expressing your reasons for declining can be beneficial. In such cases, it's perfectly acceptable and often helpful to explain why you're declining an invitation or request. The key is to strike a balance between being firm enough to set your boundaries and maintaining a tone of kindness and understanding. You can express your reasons for declining while still being respectful and empathetic towards the other person's perspective. Remember, clear communication is key. State your no firmly and leave little room for negotiation. But do so with empathy and respect. You can say, "No, I appreciate the offer, but I won't be able to make it." Or, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I'm unable to commit to that project at this time." You can also be honest and direct. Say, "I'm not available," or "This request doesn't align with my current priorities." There's no need to over-apologize or make elaborate excuses. Simple "I'm sorry, but," or "Thank you for the opportunity, but," is usually sufficient. Chapter 9. Energetic boundaries matter too. Who gets your time, your space, your energy? That's sacred. Our energy is a precious and finite resource. It's the life force that powers our thoughts, actions, and emotions. Much like our physical and emotional boundaries, our energetic boundaries play a crucial role in safeguarding our well-being and fostering a life that is both fulfilling and authentic. When we establish and maintain these energetic boundaries, we create a protective shield that filters out negativity, disrespect, and those who seek to drain our vitality. Safeguarding our energy isn't just about saying no to external obligations or commitments. It's about saying yes to ourselves, our dreams, and our aspirations. It's about consciously directing our energy towards nurturing our passions, pursuing our goals, and fostering the relationships that uplift us. Prioritizing our energy in this way allows us to show up as our best selves in all areas of our lives. It enables us to engage with the world from a place of genuine enthusiasm, creativity, and compassion, rather than from a depleted state of obligation and resentment. Ultimately, it's about recognizing that respecting our energetic boundaries is an act of self-love, self-preservation, and self-empowerment. When we honor our energy, we honor ourselves, and we open the door to a life that is richer, more vibrant, and deeply fulfilling. Chapter 10. You don't owe anyone access to you. Your peace, your energy, your soul are not public property. Access to our peace, energy, and soul is not something we owe to anyone. It's a privilege reserved for those who genuinely respect, value, and reciprocate with care. To understand this concept fully, it's essential to recognize that our peace, energy, and soul are not commodities to be given away freely or demanded by others. Rather, they are treasures to be safeguarded and shared intentionally. Our peace is the sanctuary of our minds and hearts, a haven where we find solace, joy, and tranquility. It's not a public park to be traversed by anyone at will, but a private garden to be tended and enjoyed by us alone or with those we choose to let in. Our energy is the vital force that animates our being, driving our thoughts, actions, and emotions. It's not an infinite reservoir to be drained by external demands, but a precious resource to be nurtured and directed toward our own growth and fulfillment. Similarly, our soul, with all its depths and complexities, is not a public exhibition to be dissected by prying eyes, but a sacred space to be explored and cherished by us on our own terms. In essence, this chapter underscores the importance of personal autonomy and self-determination. It reminds us that we have the right to choose who enters our inner sanctum, who influences our thoughts and feelings, and who witnesses the depths of our being. It's about recognizing that our peace, energy, and soul are not commodities to be bartered or given away, but treasures to be held with reverence and shared with intentionality. Closing thoughts? What have you learned about saying no? Have you ever felt more free after setting a boundary? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your wisdom matters. Subscribe to Aurum Visio for weekly reminders that your soul is worth protecting. Until next time, stand tall, speak true, protect your peace.